What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky and happy Valentine's Day. And I figured the best time to talk about my love of the industry is during Valentine's Day because I have no life, I have no wife, all I got is YouTube, you guys, and my love for the automotive industry. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into the fun stuff. Now, I'm going to talk about how I kind of fell in love with the automotive industry. Now, through my videos throughout the lifetime of my channel, I've talked about this stuff back and forth and sprinkled little things here and there about why I kind of started in the automotive industry. And so I figured this video, I would just talk more about it openly, talk about, my passion, my love for it and everything else. So it all started back in 1995 in my parents' living room. I was going through the newspaper and I saw an ad under public notices that said tow yard auction. They had about 10 cars listed. I saw 3 that caught my eye. At the time, I think I was like 14 years old and I was super excited. I was like, I'm gonna go buy these cars. So I walk into the auction. I had no idea that you're supposed to be over 18, but I'll have to post a picture. I literally look the same like I do now, just about 30 pounds lighter. Walked in, they didn't ID me. They gave me a little bitter badge after I gave them $100. Sat there on the bench and I just waited. They started putting a cone on different cars, started the auction. I said, ooh, I like this car, this car, and this car. So I bid on 3 cars. Unfortunately, I didn't win the first one, but I did win the second 2. I purchased my first 2 cars for $200 each. One was like a 1976 Lincoln, and the other one was like a 77 like Chrysler Imperial, I think it was. 2 big, ugly, massive boats. Both were in the impound for DUI, so that was a good thing. Gotta love Vegas, right? So, got there, got the keys, jump started them, they both ran. I was super excited. I drove those things home, parked in my driveway. My dad was pissed. He's like, what are these buckets doing here? Whose cars are these? And I'm all excited like, these are my cars. I bought these piles of crap. Look, aren't they amazing? So anyways, big shout out to my dad because I'm surprised he didn't murder me when I started bringing all these piles of shit home onto his driveway. So if you're watching this, thank you so much for being supportive. So as the years go by through high school, I just kept buying these cars from different tow yard auctions, my friends. I'd fix them up, do the most Mickey Mouse shit. We're talking like, I'd buy like chrome hubcaps, I'd put a CD player in it and I'd do window tint. And then if it was like the color was a little wrapped up, I would rattle can the whole car and turn around and sell it for like $300-400 extra. And that's where my passion kind of started, And I fell in love with it. Fast forward after high school, I decided, you know what? I'm really going to get into, music and business. Because at this time, I haven't shared it, but I actually used to be really, really into music when I was younger. And I always thought that I would do something in the music industry or business. So I was like, I'm going to do one of these 2 things. And cars was just a fun side passion. Well, during this time, I had an apartment and I kept bringing cars over to my apartment complex and they started impounding them because they didn't have plates, they were, expired tags, all kinds of issues. So I winded up renting a small storage unit at a warehouse facility, at a U-Haul facility. And I was working on these cars, and I don't know if you've ever seen some of these like storage units, they have like a little light with 1 socket. I would plug in my impact or my drill or whatever I was using. As soon as I'd use it, I'd pop the lights and all the lights in the whole freaking place would go out. I have to go ask management to go ahead and start them back up. Anyways, I did that for a while and finally I decided, you know what? I like cars. Let me get a little bit of a bigger warehouse and see if I can make a go of it. And this was back in, I think, 2000-ish. So I went to Spring Mountain and Jones, Spring Mountain Valley View, and I got a small automotive repair shop. It was very easy, didn't know how to basically set it all up. I went to the city, asked for a license, put the license down, got my facility set up, and I just started fixing cars. I winded up, knocking on people's doors. Hey, let me fix your car. I was handing out cards at Walmart. I was doing whatever I could to bring in business. And I winded up really fortunately meeting a guy that broke down right in front of my place. He owned a rental car company here in Vegas. I said, hey man, let me fix all your cars. I started fixing his cars and he had a lot of different exotic cars. And this place was called Dream Car Exotics. Shout out to Rick. Unfortunately, he passed about 10 years ago, but his company was the biggest rental car company in Vegas at the time. And so we were working on some of these exotic cars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Aston Martins, stuff like that. I thought that it would be, oh my God, it's crazy complicated. It's going to be so hard to work on these cars. It was so much easier to work on like an old school Ferrari 355 or a Ferrari 360 than it was like a 2002 or 2003 Honda Accord. So we were fixing these cars because nobody in Vegas at the time wanted to work on them. So after doing that for a little bit, I paid my way to go to a class in New York where they were teaching people how to work on exotic cars, basically Ferraris and Lamborghinis. It was 2 experienced technicians from Ferrari and Lamborghini, I think of Manhattan. We wound up going to 2 of their classes. Unfortunately, they got shut down because I think illegally they were teaching people they weren't supposed to because they're both factory trained. So that was fun while it lasted. But I came back to Vegas with the knowledge. We were doing clutches and Gallardos. We were swapping out stuff all the time in these like 360s. And it was really great. And that's what started my journey in like the exotic cars. So we did that for a number of years. And I decided, you know what? Things were good. And then all of a sudden the economy tanked. 2008. Winded up, thank God I sold most of my stuff and I left Vegas to take a small break and I went to Texas. Now, I went to Texas for 2 reasons. One, I joined the Army just for fun. I always wanted to join back in the day. I had knee surgery when I was younger and they wouldn't take me right after high school. And so I decided that I wanted to go again, and this was during the war, so they allowed me to do that. So I went to Texas, joined the Army, did my National Guard thing, and I was flipping houses in Dallas, Texas. I was actually living in Arlington and buying houses in Fort Worth and Dallas, fixing them. I did that for about 2 years and got bored and said, you know what? I miss the cars. I miss the industry because I spent more time buying cars off of Craigslist and flipping them in my driveway than I did actually flipping the houses. But I figured after 10 houses, we were good to go. The hard money guy that we were using was a great guy, but it was just like, I just missed cars. So I decided to jump back into it, moved back to Vegas and opened up my shop, got my rental car license, got my dealer's license, just started scaling after that and just kind of fell back into it. And it made me realize my passion and love for it. Now, a lot of people always ask, well, if you love cars and you love the industry, why did you, sell your company? Now, at this time, I was right around the end of 2019. I was just so sick and tired of my current market. I didn't give up on the automotive industry. I gave up on the Las Vegas market. The main reason why I got rid of it is when I first started, I had 27 lenders that would lend to me. Prime, subprime, deep subprime. Usually with $1,000 and a pulse, I could get you a car. But all of a sudden, I couldn't do that anymore. When 2019, I was down to 4 banks. That's it. Everything was a $1,000 to $3,000 payment buy fee. I had 2 to 3 payment recourse because nobody did no more recourse anymore. And no new banks were coming into Vegas for the last 2 years. Everybody was pulling out of Vegas. Now, the good thing is if you're in another state and you're watching this and you feel like you're struggling, just thank God you're not in Vegas. And if you are a Vegas dealer, you could totally agree with me when, banks stop paying out, they don't give you any money, or they just disappear. So it got to the point where it wasn't fun anymore. It was a grind. And so I wanted to take a break. And, an opportunity came up where I sold my dealership to a group. We basically walked in, we trained them, we set up 3 other dealerships, and we were just crushing it for a good amount of time, and it's all buy her, pay her now. I think they got upwards of $12 million in portfolio, which is awesome. So congrats to David and Mark. But now that I've been out of it for a little bit, I decided, like I said, going to YouTube, going to coaching, helping people. And, first I was the young guy that was teaching people about social media marketing when it comes to dealerships. Because I know for a fact I was the first person in Vegas that was doing Facebook and YouTube advertising for dealerships here in Vegas. And as I started, setting my eyes on it and doing more and more of it, I started going to dealer conferences, talking about it, giving my opinions and stuff like that. And as I got to talk to other groups and other people, I realized how many people weren't taking advantage of social media. A lot of the dealers were very old school mentality. They just didn't want to do it. So that's what sparked my passion into doing consulting. It first started out with doing social media stuff. After that, I started looking at how they're buying cars, how they're selling cars, how they're financing cars. And I was like, well, this is what I did. You can try this. This is what this dealer is doing. Maybe you should try this. And as I was going from different dealership to dealership and different conference to conference, I would take all that knowledge that I was gaining and share it with other dealers. Now, the reason why I wanted to do a YouTube channel is, I told you guys a little bit if you watch my About Me video on here, my life as a YouTuber. I was approached a long time ago to do a TV show, and I winded up not doing it for a few reasons. You definitely have to watch that video. I'll link it probably up here. But one of the main reasons why I went to this dealer conference, which I won't say its name, just in case if I do it again, but they wanted me to have a 45 very personal talk about the car business and the industry, because I always talked about how I hated how nobody would share any information. And they said they loved that. They'd love to have an open table, be honest, be open, whatever else. So I was like, okay. So I went out in this conference and I told them my name, and I was like, you guys can answer or ask me whatever you want. So for 45 minutes I got to speak, and then after that they're allowed to ask me questions. I answered questions for a whole hour after that. I was only supposed to be on for maybe 50 minutes, and it ended up being, like I said, about an hour and a half. And I just answered everything they asked me. Personal questions about, am I married? Do I have kids? What's my personal net worth? How's my credit? Like all kinds of crazy stuff, right? But I figured that if I was open and I tore down the barriers and I shared information, the dealers will reciprocate, and we maybe break down the wall and dealers will share information. So after I get off stage, everybody that wanted to can come to this round table and we can exchange ideas. And I was like, this is a great thing. I think this is going to be really great. So we sit down, and I'm like, okay, you guys want to ask me a question? They're like, yeah, what about this? And I was telling them my answer. And I was like, okay, so what about you, Mr. Dealer? How many cars do you sell a month? Nothing. Okay, Mr. Dealer, what about you? What is your average, paper copy? Like, what do you guys make per deal? Nothing. Okay, how do you buy your cars? Do you like to go to the auction? Do you like buying from people? Do you buy directly from banks? Nothing. It was a complete waste of time. Dealers will always brag and say that I sell a bunch of cars and I make a bunch of money, but they will never share any information with you. And I cannot stand that. They're the first to tell you, don't do the industry. It sucks. There's no money. But at the same time, they're bragging about how rich they are and how great they are and how much money they're making. But they won't, like you said, share this type of information. It's very important that we do. So that's why I decided to do this channel, because this is where my second love of YouTube came in. Where now we're sitting here, we're talking like this, we're sharing information. Like I talk about all the time. I lost a lot of money. I did a lot of stupid shit when I first started. I overspent on my flooring lines. I never renegotiated. I was learning about recourse. I signed up the wrong banks. I lost money. Now, if any dealer can look you straight in the eye and say, hey, you know what? I never lost money on a car or on a deal, they are full of shit, because we lose money in this business. It is okay. But you got to make sure that we mitigate that risk and we come back and we make more money on hopefully the next deal. But it's stuff like this that dealers don't share because they don't want to look like they're weak or they're dumb. And this is what bites most new dealers in the ass, because we learn from experience. If we hear that other dealers are having trouble because they got in trouble with the flooring lines, they had trouble with certain banks, they had issue with maybe buying from a certain wholesaler because they sell shit, tell the people, share the knowledge. It's not that complicated, but dealers forget to do this. And that's why I wanted to make this channel. So this way we can have an open dialect. You guys can put stuff in the comments. I try to answer everything as much as I can on answering certain questions, because there's not a lot of people that you can go to that you can ask this information. When I first started this channel, there was one other guy that I saw that was doing this, that had a good channel. I can't remember his name. He only had like 1,000 subscribers. I think he deleted his channel. There's two other guys. I won't say their names. Bad information, super bad information. There's another guy, Flying Wheels. He's another dealer guy. I like his stuff. He's a nice guy. Cool. But everybody else, they should share more information. They should talk about their daily lives, how they do business, and stuff like that, because it helps a lot of people. This whole bullshit concept of, oh, you're training your competition. Why do you consult? Why do you help other dealers? Why do you set up other dealerships? There's more than enough pie to go around. If you open up right next door to me, it doesn't matter. If you go to any city in the United States, if there's a McDonald's here, there's a freaking Burger King right across the street. Because if you don't feel like McDonald's, you're gonna get Burger King. And if you don't feel like Burger King, you're gonna make McDonald's. And right by them is gonna be 7-Eleven and Chevron, same gas stations. It's the same concept. There's nothing wrong with competition. This is how we make our money. You steal a few customers from them, they steal a few customers from you. But if you're friends, you can network together and build something good where we share inventory. Like when I first did this here in Vegas and I was asking other dealers, like, hey, I'm gonna send this customer down to your lot, just kick me back like $500. they're like, why don't you sell him a car? Well, he likes your car, so I'm just gonna have him send there. And it was the weirdest thing. I wasn't a salesman, I was a dealership owner selling customers to other dealerships. And then I had other friends of mine where, hey, I know you don't have a bank that finances over X amount of dollars, send them to me. I'll use my connections with the credit unions to get this customer financed, and I'll kick you back the money for the car, and I'll profit $1,000 myself. And we were doing little side things like this, and it was helping basically our group. And that's what I want to share with YouTube is you don't have to hate your neighbor. Your competition is not a bad guy. I wish that we can go to dealerships and just talk and be friendly. Stop the bullshit. Not everybody's selling cars left and right. I'm looking at your guys' lots. You guys are overpaying for shit. And then I see the credit apps that come in. A lot of people are not selling stuff. It's okay to say, hey, you know what? I'm not selling as many cars. I need to try something. What do you recommend? We don't know everything. I love to take advice from other dealers. Every time I go do a training, I literally learn little things from every single person, and that's why I share it on my channel. So when I talk about stuff and you're like if I say the market's slow or prices are going down, everybody gets triggered. They're like, oh my God, you're full of shit. It's not slow, or my prices are high. That is your market. That is your little bubble. I talk to hundreds of dealers all across the United States, and so we take a collective group on what everybody's doing. That's why it's so important to share, because if it shows up in this market, eventually it's going to migrate to your market. So wouldn't you rather be ahead of the curve? But you're never going to get there unless you share information. So anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry I was a little bit long-winded. I just wanted to share, like I said, my love and passion for the automotive industry. If you have any questions, please put in the comment section below. I answer every single one myself, none of my staff, just me. And make sure you follow us on Instagram at automotive.life. And what else? Oh, please, please, please smash the like button. I truly appreciate it. Definitely subscribe to us. We had a lot of new users. I had my first viral video. I think we're almost up to $300,000 on the market bubble popped, which is a huge shout out. And I know there's a lot of new viewers, so shout out to you guys as well. If you guys have any video recommendations, put them in the comment section as well. I'll go through and read them. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. You have a great day. Happy Valentine's Day.